Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Paul, and I'm just trying to cover things that I'm curious about and things to look into, I like to share. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I've been spending quite a bit of time on these past multiple years, actually, and thinking over things. And it's only been because of some recent discussions. This has come up a lot, and so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And essentially, it's this discussion of how do you form a blueprint for your life of where you want it to go in the decades to come? Okay. A lot of people think of this only in terms of their career or only in terms of their personal relationships, but they don't have each aspect kind of thought through. And if they do, most of them, it's on the 2 to 5 year horizon instead of the 20, 30, 40, 50 year horizon. And so I wanted to take some time tonight and talk about a little bit about how I have gone about doing that. So I think first and foremost, the first question that I begin to ask is, do I feel that there's any sense of direction at all with where God's calling me to, or is it kind of in like no man's land right now where I am either just searching for things that I'm interested in, or just trying to figure out maybe where to go, and I'm going to do that by tasting different things, right? That would be the first thing, because if you feel a certain call in a certain direction, well, then you can pursue that. If you feel like you're in no man's land and you don't know necessarily what you like, you don't necessarily feel a certain call from God to go in a specific direction, well, then you just gotta kind of taste things and see what you are good at, see what you enjoy, and go from there. I think if I can kind of answer both of these, if you feel there's a certain call on your life to go a certain direction, well, I think a very practical thing to do with that is to pray through that, continually ask God, but also begin to take those next steps to that, right? Begin to take those next steps, have those conversations, and search out what that would look like. I think in this direction, it's good to, like I mentioned before, taste as much as you can, as fast as you can. I think that the more that you taste, the more that you can see, okay, I like this a lot. I didn't like this part a lot. Okay, so maybe I could use this part. I probably want to stay away from that because I didn't like that. But let me try more things that are, like this spot over here. And then here's at least what I've done. And we're still in the career section. Okay. There's multiple aspects that you can go over, but this is still the career section. I think once you find whether the type of calling or something that you enjoy, map out the ideal, what that would be in the 30 or 40 years to come, because it's very likely that you will be using whatever skills that you're learning now in the workforce to do those similar things in 30 or 40 years. You will not be doing the exact same thing, but at bare minimum, you will at least be using those skills. And so it's good to ask, okay, with what I'm doing now, this path that I'm following, what does it most ideally look like in 30 or 40 years? And then you can kind of map that out. When you find out what that looks like, and when you kind of find out, okay, maybe at 50, 60 years old, this is maybe perhaps what I'm going to be doing. Again, this is not strict. Okay, this is not strict at all, but you just want to begin to get a blueprint. And this is me answering this in video form, what I've done before to people. So when you have your pretty much ideal 50 to 60-year-old self in terms of work, this is one of the most important things that you got to check off your list, because I hate to say it, maybe I don't hate to say it, but the majority of what we're going to spend our life doing is working. Probably the second biggest thing is sleeping, but working and sleeping are pretty much the two biggest things. Everything else is going to have much less time devoted to it. And so work, it pretty much takes the precedence in, okay, it's going to determine what I'm going to be doing during life. So it's probably a good thing if I spend some time thinking about that, right? So then when you can think about, okay, this is where I'm going to be hypothetically in this amount of time, what can raise my chances of actually getting there? Because I know other people are going to want that spot. What are going to raise my chances of actually getting there? What skills do I need to develop? So then you can look at, okay, now you have this picture of yourself in the future, and then you can reverse engineer it and say, okay, that person, the person most likely to get that, is probably going to have these 10 skills. Okay, so if I'm 20 something right now, what am I going to, even if you're 30 something right now, what skills do I need to acquire over the next couple of decades to make my chances as good as possible in that direction? Okay, so that's how you can reverse engineer for skills. Also, you can do this in the same manner for, okay, I don't just want these work skills. What other practical skills do I want in life that I can just add to my continuous learning journey over the years? Because you don't want to stop learning when you either graduate high school or graduate college. You don't just want to stop learning there. And so then you can begin to look at some other skills, right? The other aspect that I would talk about this with is the learning aspect. I've said this before on this channel, but I really, really pretty much what I like to do is I want to say, okay, who is the ideal Paul at that age and what is his mind like? That's the main thing that I focus on. I do focus on, the health and the fitness as well, but the main thing that I'm like, okay, I want to build up is the mind. And so I look at the skills, the learning, a lot of the different stuff within that manner. And so I also reverse engineer that. The readings involved with that, taking different courses involved with that, having different life experiences involved with that, different types of works involved with that. For me, because it's building a certain mind. That's what I see. And so I think when you can have the career, the work, the learning mapped out, the other things begin to take care of themselves. And here's what I mean by this. When you say, okay, here's what I need to become to ideally be doing what I want to do, the relationships begin to kind of mold around that as well, because you'll quickly see, okay, now I'm not just having friends, having random types of friends. It's most likely going to be friends around this area, unless you're really intentional about making friends outside of the specific area. But for example, if you're saying that, and this is on a shorter, horizon, but let's say that you're like, okay, I want to become a professional athlete. Most likely, a lot of your close friends are going to be other athletes. Not always the case, but you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. You're going to be training, working, all the stuff. And so when you map out kind of where you want to go, you can kind of see the direction of also what relationships are going to look like in that aspect as well. Okay. The other thing that kind of, I don't want to say automatically, because it's definitely not automatic for a lot of people, but if you're going to say, okay, that person who's doing that work, they need to function at some level. Ideally, do I want them to function well or not function well? And it kind of sounds like a stupid, maybe obvious question, but a lot of people don't treat it like that in reality, because a lot of people are not necessarily healthy in their 50s or 60s. And, we say, oh, that's part of getting old. I think that could be some proactive steps to take, maybe to even slow that process down. So the other thing that you can say is, okay, what do I want my body to function like at 50 to 60? That is within my capability. Obviously, you can't control some things that happen to you, but like that's within your capability. What do you look like? What are you mobile? Are you walking a lot? Are you running at that age? Are you golfing? What are you doing? And so you can reverse engineer for that aspect as well. And I think the last thing that you could kind of reverse engineer is like, okay, what is the type of person that I want? That person who's doing that thing, having these relationships. What type of person is that person? And who do I want to be, just like on a character level? And so then you can begin to look at and evaluate what are your current set of values and principles that you are going to operate by. What is the best values and principles that you can use that most likely is going to hold or even get to that position? These are all things that you can very, very realistically map out. And if you haven't taken time to do it, this sounds crazy. And you kind of sound like, wait, how do you have like your whole life planned out? It's not necessarily that you have your whole life planned out. It's that you have a general direction and now you're working with something. That way the day-to-day is not just filled with randomness. You know that you're working in a certain direction because of this image that you have in your mind. It doesn't mean that it's going to be guaranteed, but you can at least work towards this. And you should be able to say, hopefully every year, but at least every 5 years, hey, I'm growing into a bigger and better person than I was before because of the different things that I've learned, who I'm becoming as a person, et cetera, et cetera. So I think those are a few of the strategies that I have used for myself, just taking a lot of time thinking about, okay, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? How do I want to help people, et cetera. I think these are helpful. So I wanted to record this video for you. And I guess you can let me know down in the comments below if this was helpful. With that being said, I will see you guys on the next one.